drain the swamp, we're going to have to drain the privilege out of Washington first, because that's what the swamp feeds on, their privilege. I think a good example of this is what we see Obama doing the last couple of days and what we reported on last week. But I want you to see the bigger picture. I want you to see how even when the Republicans talked about reforming Obamacare, they were immediately hit upon because they carved out exemptions for themselves. Same thing the Democrats did. Remember the first time around? It's like, oh, the Congress isn't covered in this health care plan. They've got a Cadillac plan of their own, and yes, they do have a Cadillac pension plan of their own as well. And we're going to take a look at some of the privileges of presidents. But I think it's time that we look at this and understand that it kind of comes with the territory. You know, if you're going to act like a king, as a dictator, as a pharaoh, then it's kind of hard to give all that stuff up when you leave Washington. Let's take a look at Obama. Of course, he's going to Milan, Italy, talking about climate change, preaching about seed and chips, the Global Food Innovation Summit in the city of Milan. And of course, this all has to do with climate change and food. We should all remember that the socialist policies that Obama promotes are what are wrecking Venezuela. The people there can't eat. So you want to talk about global food innovation? When you lock up the resources, one of the richest oil reserves in the world in Venezuela is locked up by the elite. And the rest of the people can starve in the streets. That's what they have in mind for you. And, of course, we see this entourage that he goes to this climate change summit with. Okay, we've seen all these celebrities in the past that have done the same sort of thing. This hypocrisy. Takes a private jet to Milan. Then he has a 14-car convoy that goes into the city. All these people to protect him, 300 police officers, even protection from a helicopter above. All of those resources dedicated to a president. But it's not just Barack Obama. We saw this article from CNN. Being ex-president can be a lucrative gig. Yes, it is a lucrative gig. They say when a president leaves the White House, he's still on the government payroll. He not only gets an annual pension of about $200,000, he also gets health care. Yes, health care. He also gets all kinds of official travel benefits and an office. Bill Clinton's office in the pricey real estate market of New York, reports CNN, is $516,000 a year. That's what he pays in rent. And this is a guy who, off a book deal, just one book deal, My Life, got a $15 million advance from the publisher. George W. Bush got $7 million for the first 1.5 million copies of his Decision Points. And, of course, Jimmy Carter has already written 14 books. But they say the biggest payoff of all are the speeches. And there again, Bill Clinton has been the reigning king of the podium as of last year. But, of course, now the new king is going to be Obama. Maybe we should say Pharaoh. Right after Clinton left the White House in 2001, reports CNN, the Greater Washington Association of Executives paid him $125,000 for a speech. And he told Wolf Blitzer, I've never had any money till I got out of the White House, but I've done reasonably well since then. So he's not raping women anymore. He's raping all taxpayers, male and female. Raping us, stealing our money. The Center for Public Integrity estimates that George W. Bush had $15 million from speeches since leaving office. And this goes all the way back to Ronald Reagan. Right after he left office, he went to Japan. He made $2 million for 2 speeches in Japan. But it doesn't just end with the money. That's the money that they're, quote unquote, earning from books and from speeches. And we'll talk about those speeches in just a moment and what's really behind that. But look at the rest of the stuff that they get. They get $1 million per year in travel. This is from the National Taxpayers Union. This is a bit out of date. This is about 4 years old, this article. In addition, their spouse gets $500,000 to travel. They get $150,000 per year on office staff. Again, that's outdated now. Any amount required for suitable office space and appropriate furnishings equipped anywhere in the United States that they wish to live. And if you look at this table they've got there, you can see things like telephone usage. They're getting $7,000 to $85,000 a year in phone bills paid for. George W. Bush had $85,000 in phone bills in 2012. Postage stamps, anywhere from $13,000 to $20,000 a year. This is snail mail, folks. I mean, what are they shipping around? Are they shipping massive containers of cocaine? How do they get that kind of shipping charges to use that kind of stuff? It's absolutely amazing. And, of course, going back to 2013 was the first time that Congressman Jason Chaffetz introduced a bill to rein in some of this insanity. It would have capped pension benefits for former presidents at $200,000. It would have repealed the travel, the office expenses, the staff expenses privileges. Okay, it would have reduced that kind of stuff by every dollar earned above $400,000. Think about this. When we talk about means testing this, think about your Social Security benefits that the government gives you. And, of course, it's not a pension plan. It's not a retirement account. It is a Ponzi scheme. If we go back to the original Social Security, it was created by the German politician Otto von Bismarck. He picked the age of 65 as the age at which you could start drawing benefits. Why? Because that was a life expectancy in Germany at the time. Social Security has always been a lie, but let's take a look at the actual benefits that you can expect to receive. The max you could get would be $28,000 a year if you earned the maximum contribution amount every year that you worked from the age of 21. How many of you are going to meet that test? I certainly wouldn't. Okay? What you're really going to get is something more like $14,000 a year. And then once you make about $16,000 a year, they're going to start deducting dollar for dollar out of that as you start to make over that limit. Congress, on the other hand, instead of getting a $14,000 amount, they get a real pension. They get $139,000 max. They can get an average of $55,000. So that's about 5 times what you're going to get from the government, even though you paid 15% of your wages your entire life without any deduction. The presidents, on the other hand, are going to get anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million, which is what we've been seeing here. And I want to point out that we have had some honest congressmen like Ron Paul and Howard Coble of North Carolina. Howard Coble ran on reforming the pension plan. He campaigned against it in his first campaign plan. Ron Paul called it immoral and refused to take the money. But that's not the case with our former presidents. And we should remember that it was last July that Obama vetoed Chaffetz's bill, which has been put up every year. He vetoed it last year 6 months before he was going to be drawing it. And so we see that what happened was that was just the 11th veto of his 8-year presidency. And it went through. And he said he consulted with every living president on this bill. And they all agreed that they should have the money, that they're entitled to the money. That would be Carter, Clinton, and the 2 Bushes. Remember last week, we told you about Obama's $500 million presidential center. It's not just a library, it's a full complex. He's going to have all kinds of educational stuff that's going to be going on there. He sees this as the beginning of a socialist foundation that can push his revolution across the globe. It's going to have a museum, a library, a forum that'll house an auditorium, a restaurant, a public garden. It'll have campuses here, and I think this is most appropriate, the sledding hill that Michelle Obama said she wanted to have in Chicago, because there's no place to sled in Chicago. But I think it's very appropriate because it is a picture of how America slid downhill during the Obama administration. That is the most appropriate thing. I would even contribute to that as an icon there. But, of course, what he's talking about is he's going to expand this, use that as a base. He's going to have partnerships, programs, digital initiatives, projects all over the city, the country, the world, said the release. He's going to inspire people to do change in their community. And he's going to have a massive teaching staff there. And I'm sure he'll be able to draw from the radical educationists like Bill Ayers that seem to be centered in Chicago. So with all this happening, and with President Obama dropping everybody's jaw with a new $400,000 speech that he got in Wall Street, Jason Chaffetz is talking about, hey, look, he's got a $60 million advance on a book. He's got $400,000 from just one speech. And last year, he vetoed a bill that would reduce his pension dollar for dollar for everything that he earned over $400,000. That's just a single speech. He's going to bring that back up again. But you know what we need to understand is that we have something better than actually prohibiting the maximum amount a president can use. What I'm concerned about are these speeches. You know, had H.L. Mencken say that an election is an advance auction of stolen goods. These speeches that we see these presidents making everywhere, that is actually pay for services rendered. That is corruption. And we need to understand exactly what that is. We cannot drain the swamp as long as Washington has this much power concentrated unconstitutionally in Washington that they have usurped, is like a black hole that pulls in all of this matter. And what it pulls in are the most corrupt, wicked people who use their position as a leveraged buyout to steal your country. That's the real issue here. That's what's happening. It's the corruption of power concentrated in Washington.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com and to help others during Christmas by teaching them about the powerful benefits of silver. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.